The topic here, it's me, as you can see. What should I press here to go ahead? Let me see. Okay. So the topic I've been assigned is complementary feeding, which is also called weaning. For the old people like I am, weaning is more common as a term. And if you don't mind, I will change from one to the other. Also because lately I discovered that weaning exists in all the language over the world. So I don't feel uncomfortable to speak about weaning and not complementary feeding as a new term. What is the complementary feeding? Is the time, as Marie-Laure already said, is a time in which a child, a baby, an infant, goes from drinking only one food to many different foods according to the nationality, the family, and so on. What are the aims of the complementary feeding? Of course, is to offer energy and nutrients which are proper for the proper growth of the infants, and also to introduce new tastes, new different flavor and texture of the food. But as Professor Simeoni already said, led to the late knowledge we have about nutrigenomic and epigenetic, in which I'm very ignorant, I have to confess, it is important to avoid the development of chronic disease, or better, to promote health, which is nicer as a terminology than prevent diseases. All these things have to be reached with the minimum effect, negative side effect. Now, are all the babies the similar way? Are all equal? They are beautiful the same. But, until 6 months, all children have only milk as a food. We hope human milk, but several babies are also formula fed for very different reasons. And are they inside the same? Because you can see they're pretty sweet, the same, but inside their body is similar between the two formula of different nutrition. There are differences. A long time ago, we discovered that formula-fed children have a higher weight than breastfed. And in all time, this higher weight was thought to be due to an increase of adiposity of the adipose tissue. But with the new instrument, we know now that these children have a higher lean body mass, not more fat mass than was thought before. And also when we think about and we speak about adipose tissue, we see that formula-fed infants have more visceral fat, which is more which is more dangerous for development of chronic disease, whereas breastfed babies have more subcutaneous adipose tissue, which is not so dangerous as the visceral one. So this difference in body composition has to have a nutritional basis, of course. So what are the nutritional basis of this difference? As you can see here, the human composition and the formula on the market. I made an average of the nutrients and the energy content in the starting and follow-up formula. And you can see that in each formula there is a higher content in protein and also a higher content in iron, as the colleague was already underlying before. This does not mean that formulas are better than human milk. Let's be clear. Also, it's not a problem of amount of nutrient, it's also a problem of quality of nutrient. We are just at our infancy in discovering what are the differences and what are the protective factors in the human milk. So you can see there are a lot of hormones, there are a lot of other substances that can be very, very important in determining the body composition. So if we want to say something different to define human milk and formulas, we can say that each of the two is the opposite mirror of the other one. So you can see that for example, the different protein content, the high functional protein content in human milk, and different flavor according to the food eaten in human milk, and always the same flavor in formula-fed infants. Let's imagine this poor 6-month infant to drink all the same flavor of the food. I would be crazy. These differences have been also recognized by the EGEA. But the EGEA say that even though there is a theoretical basis to divide the formula-fed from the infant breastfed infants, if we give two different kinds of complementary feeding, this can cause confusion in pediatricians and caregivers. In other words, the pediatricians are all stupid, and the parents too. Now, of course, pediatricians are not stupid, and parents have to take care of one child at a time, or two, no more than two. 6 twins is very rare, thank God. So it's really impossible to say that it cannot be done. And I want to show you that it's possible. Look at that. The first one is a child, the 7-month infant with the weight taken by the WHO standard, with the WHO recommendation about energy intake and protein intake and iron intake. So you can see that if we want to have more or less a similar nutrient intake, we have to use different foods. And this is important because, like Professor Simeoni said, the first 2 years of life are very important. And we know that increasing the protein content of a normal nutrition can be a risk factor for obesity development. So it has to be differentiated between formula-fed and breastfed. So in breastfed, in both children, we have to use fruit and vegetables since the beginning. In the formula-fed, to start to give them a variety of flavor. In the breastfed, to keep the variety of flavor to which they are used. And there is a very nice poster here. It's number 9, I guess, by Raffaella De Franchi, who is about the Mediterranean diet use during weaning time. It's very interesting. I suggest you to read that. Now there is another model which is very on-fashion. It's coming very on-fashion. It's traditional weaning to baby-led weaning. How does it start? How does it begin? Jill Rapley is a midwife, so it's not a pediatrician, it's not a nutritionist. And in 2003, she had to write her thesis, and she wrote this thesis, which was based on simple observation of behavioral responses given by a very wide sample of babies, 5. 5 babies were observed during the meal with the family, and she observed the capacity of grasping foods by these children. These are the basic principles of the baby-led weaning. In few words, is the baby that lead the game. He can grasp, he can eat from only by his finger or her fingers. But if you see, they are all relationship and psychological principles. In baby-led weaning, no metabolic or nutritional aspects are taken into account, whereas this principle can be, it must be taken into account in normal and traditional weaning. But Jill Rapley wrote many and sold many cookbooks on baby-led weaning. And I want to introduce you a friend of mine. This is a poisoning snack, it's a very nice poisonous snack, who lives comfortably in my heart. She has a 4-room apartment in my heart. And she suggested me, what is the real nutritional and metabolic driver of the baby-led weaning? So I made calculation of the nutritional aspect of some of the recipes. And you see that using the most conservative approach, I mean the most prudent, one baby serving of eggy bread, which is French toast, calculated for a baby just 1/4 of the full recipe, we have 6 grams of saturated fat, which is quite a lot at this age. It's useless to give this amount of saturated fat. But the funny recipe is this one. Homemade beef burger. 500 lean beef for 2 adults and 1 baby. Here the approach has been even more conservative, because I considered only the 10% of the recipe. But even considering only the 10%, you see that in half meal, because here fruit is not included yet, we have 11 grams of protein, which is the 97th percentile of what is recommended by WHO at this age. When we had protein from milk and protein from other food, you see that we reach really the Everest of the protein intake. And we know again and again the protein intake, high protein intake can be a factor risk of the obesity development. But I wonder also if these people know something about the adult nutrition. Because if you read the recipe, the serving for an adult is 200 grams of meat. I mean, just, I don't know who can eat 2,000 grams of meat. Baby-led weaning is also claimed to be very important and very helpful for future health. So Thompson and Pitchford wrote a paper in which they showed that after 3 years, infants who had followed baby-led weaning had the healthier food preferences than babies traditionally went. But Morrison didn't find the same results, and this paper was highly criticized by myself, Professor Bania, and Dr. Felou, because this paper, as you can read on the slide, has many bias in the protocol. And also was criticized by a very strong group by New Zealand. Anyway, you understand where are they from. Another thing is that we work on obesity, and BLW prevent obesity development at older age. This is not true neither, because as you can see, there are so many bias that really I wonder how come the papers have been accepted. But is my friend who is speaking now, is the poisoning snack. I'm much sweeter than she is. And you understand that keeping into account the future health of children, once we decide to apply a new fashion, a new style of fashion of nutrition, we have to be very careful, because our consequences of our decision are important not only for that specific child, but also for the next 3 generations. And we do the best work. I'm really positive when I say that we do the best work all over the world, because we promote health, and then we promote happiness. So, conclusion. Complementary feeding influence of future health, and there is no doubt about it. The practice has to be based on a strong scientific and science, adapted, of course, to local food, because I'm from Italy, and I'm not going to eat burger or hot dog. Complementary feeding has to be different in breastfed and formula-fed infants, but both the children has to start with a large variety of fruit and vegetables, even the bitter one, because you start to the bitter, it's possible to change the taste of children and to teach them to have also to like the bitter taste. And baby-led weaning is not recommended since the climate positive effects are not scientifically demonstrated yet. Once they will be demonstrated, I will change my idea. Thank you very much.